It's March 26th, and I'm out here at the corner of Main and Hazel doing my protest of hypocrisy and erasure during the launch of Interdisciplinary Research on Trauma Lab. So that's a research lab. It's not really it's not a lab with beakers and Bunsen burners. It's a social science research lab. Okay, so a lot of fake jobs and exploitation of students goes on in these labs. Today I've got Chris Mackey weaponizes gender against students, and that's what they did. On the back, everybody's favorite, diversity, equity, and inclusion is a scam, friends. It's a scam. They're using it to further their murder cult agenda. Shame, shame, shame. So then, in regard to this here sign, I'm not going to say a lot about it, but I do have proof, much of which is attributed to incapable thinker and unethical lawyer, and his very reckless statements. And his name is Stephen Gone, and he's got a fake alternative dispute resolution. That's a complete scam. That whole industry is a scam. At 116 Albert Street in Centertown, Ottawa. So I'm going to read my press release. Anishinaabe MMIWG Survivor protests hypocrisy and erasure at St. Paul University's launch of Interdisciplinary Research on Trauma Lab. An Anishinaabe survivor of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, an advocate for erased First Nation survivors, will hold a peaceful protest at St. Paul University, corresponding with the launch. That's them over there. It's called. Corresponding with the launch of the Interdisciplinary Research on Trauma Lab on March 26, 2026. The event features a team of 8 professors from different schools at SBU in a dialogue on interdisciplinary approaches to trauma. So I'm going to butcher these names. It's not intentional, and I apologize in advance. Buma Maisha, Bianca Bracu, Céline Mavozna, Geneviève Perron, Inez Yagi, Chris Mackey, Noel Hamidi, and Stephanie LaRue. The lab seeks to develop interdisciplinary, innovative, and collaborative ways to understand and transform individual and systemic trauma, contributing to resilience and well-being. The advocate argues this event exemplifies St. Paul University's ongoing hypocrisy, launching a lab dedicated to addressing trauma while the institution continues to inflict systemic trauma through exploitation, erasure, exclusion, dehumanization, racism, and bias within its Faculty of Human Sciences and Philosophy and Department of Social Innovation. Specific signage will name Chris Mackey for their role in a false and fabricated and a fake investigation led by false and fabricated allegations and a fake investigation led by unethical lawyer Stephen Gone of ADR Ottawa at 116 Albert Street in Centertown, Ottawa. I'll be there later this year for a 1-year anniversary protest of his fake investigation that produced no evidence of wrongdoing or any evidence that an investigation had even occurred. So then we can see if a fake detective called Albert Stewart thinks that meets the test for criminal harassment, because he spammed my phone last year and he threatened to arrest me for same. These actions are part of the same pattern the advocate has protested since early 2025 at CRITS events, Research Day, the Graduate Student Symposium, the Ecological Fair, and other university activities. I've been out here dozens and dozens of times, chums, over this last year. Documented instances of discrimination at St. Paul University include arbitrary devaluation of First Nations research on Anishinaabe ontologies and use of EDI, equity, diversity, and inclusion, which is fake and a scam. It's not real. Frameworks as a pretext for bias. These actions are linked to faculty such as Chris Mackey and Amanda Wilson. Retaliatory administrative investigations and expulsion without due process involving fabrications from individuals such as Heather Eaton, Amanda Wilson, Chris Mackey, and Simon Tremblay-Pepin, and a fake investigation by unethical lawyer Stephen Goad of ADR Ottawa at 116 Albert Street in Centertown, Ottawa, which produced no evidence of wrongdoing or proof that an investigation even occurred. Steve. That's embarrassing, chum. Weaponization of academic discourse and events to promote selective inclusion and interdisciplinary approaches to trauma while erasing lived experiences of MMIWG survivors and First Nations ontologies. Extraction of nearly $15,000 in tuition while delaying core research support. Then sabotaging the advocates' work on Anishinaabe philosophies. Actions that directly contradict the university's stated commitments to decolonization, anti-racism, transformative justice, and equity. Leadership failures, including inaction by Archbishop Marcel Damphouse on appeals that perpetuate the erasure of MMIWG survivors and its genocide. Archbishop. As an Anishinaabe MMIWG survivor repeatedly erased by St. Paul University's racist and genocidal practices, I will protest this Interdisciplinary Research on Trauma Lab launch to expose how the university claims to transform trauma while professors like Chris Mackey weaponize internal processes to retaliate against and silence First Nations complaints of racism, said Dana Hickey. That's me. St. Paul University does not contribute to resilience or well-being. It is a dangerous cult that recruits, exploits, traumatizes, and erases. They also teach foreign students how to genocide First Nations by erasure. Too often, First Nations do not survive this kind of institutional exploitation, and it's genocide. The protest calls on St. Paul University to engage in meaningful reconciliation, including an independent review of its policies on racism, bias, and discrimination complaints, a full disclosure of internal processes, including those involving Chris Mackey and Stephen Goad, and restitution for affected students. Supporters are encouraged to join the peaceful demonstration or share their stories of institutional harm using the hashtag SPU accountability. That's really all I have today, chums. See you next time, and thanks for watching.